what was the interest in Gandhi? And my first response is there was no interest. Academic philosophers in the United States did not know Gandhi. They knew Gandhi's name as this proponent of nonviolence, a leader in the freedoms movement in India, and was assassinated in 1948. They knew that, but they had never read a word of Gandhi and knew nothing about him. So, and I, as a philosopher, never studied Gandhi philosophically. I had spent a year in India. I was very young, 1963, 1964. In the whole year of my postgraduate PhD work in philosophy, Gandhi's name was never mentioned. Never mentioned. He was not considered a philosopher, right? Gandhi was important to me in civil rights, in the anti-war movement, in how we tried to create some nonviolent alternatives to all of the violence, but not as a philosopher. This changed in the 1990s when I realized that Gandhi, as he himself repeatedly says, is not a disciplinary academic philosopher. He has no interest in abstract philosophical arguments detached from practice. No. But what I realized is that Gandhi was philosophically very significant. And he was raising very insightfully issues more than 90% of philosophers were raising. So that's how I changed. And I started writing and publishing and lecturing about Gandhi's philosophy. And I think I've now authored and edited about 5 books that focus mainly on Gandhi. I was in India for a sabbatical in 2015, 2016, and several young editors from Oxford University Press asked to meet with me. And they said at one point, you know, you're giving all these new lectures all around India, keynotes, plenaries. Why don't you work those up in terms of a new book? Later, what they proposed, it wasn't my idea, to call it Gandhi after 9/11. I would never have given such a title. In fact, to me, it sounded so Eurocentric, Western centric. It was American hegemony. Yeah, let's do Gandhi in terms of something that happened in the United States. No, they said to me, no, this Gandhi after 9/11 is significant for India, for the world, and it's a good title. And I added creative nonviolence and sustainability to the subtitle. 9/11 was literally 2001, okay? Gandhi was assassinated in 1948. So we have Gandhi's life and then many, many decades, right, of Gandhi before 9/11. So how can we talk right now about Gandhi after 9/11? In other words, what's happened the last few decades, especially because many in India, as well as in the West, would say, well, Gandhi's irrelevant for the modern world in which we're living now. He maybe he was controversial during his lifetime. Maybe he had significance in terms of the late 19th century and the early 20th century, but he's no longer relevant. So this was the challenge. What I was trying to show is that Gandhi after 9/11 in some ways is more relevant than ever, but not in some dogmatic way, even the way Gandhians, certain what I call Gandhian fundamentalists, kind of present Gandhi in this rigid, fixed, decontextualized way. in which the Mahatma, who was too good for this world, right? And still is still too good for this world. And that's why we have all this violence and oppression. This makes Gandhi irrelevant. You just deify, worship the Mahatma. Or critics who present Gandhi in an equally essentialized way. He was rigid, inflexible, thought he had the absolute truth, but it doesn't provide us with the solutions. In fact, it's an obstacle, it's irrelevant to deal with the real existential crises we face in our lives and in the world. So this was a challenge. For me, Gandhi, after 9/11, it has to be approached as an open-ended, where we're constantly engaged, challenged by Gandhi to rethink, to reimagine, to reapply in contextually relevant ways what Gandhi has to say to us today. Just as in Gandhi's lifetime, people forget Gandhi was full of self-doubt. Gandhi has hundreds and hundreds of passages where he talks about his life in terms of his autobiography as my experiments with truth. And he writes at such length about failed experiments with truth. He even calls some of them Himalayan blunders. He had it so wrong. And people forget the last year, 2 years of Gandhi's life at the time of partition and after and independence. Gandhi was very depressed, very depressed. And he's thinking, no one listened. He looks at all the violence, the genocide, the rapes, the casteism, the patriarchy, and so forth. And he's saying, no one's listening. Now, the amazing thing is most of us who would be so demoralized and so depressed, as many people I know today are in terms of this world right now and what's happening in the United States right now and around the world, it's amazing. And I've tried to write about this. Where did he find the strength, the hope to carry on and to be effective, to be incredibly effective? So in some ways, I see the 1940s that Gandhi developed more advanced, more insightful than any other period. And so I think that there are lessons there that speak to us today, but we have to reimagine, reread, reinterpret, and reapply Gandhi, along with other non-Gandhian complementary positions in ways that really speak to not just what's relevant, but what's most urgently needed today on every level of existence, including survival, planetary survival, and human flourishing. So for me, Gandhi remains after 9/11 very significant. But what is even more dangerous to me than the Gandhi fundamentalist, more dangerous than that, is people who are not Gandhian fundamentalists, but they increasingly use Gandhi for the most anti-Gandhian purposes. In branding, I could give you an example. There are people right now in India, I know, and some I've been at conferences with them and so forth. Their major role is they're in charge of management, corporate management today, and many of them talk at length and extol Gandhi, Gandhian management. Gandhi can be effective in terms of maximizing profit, in terms of diffusing discontent among objectified, dehumanized customers. I was at one conference where one of the people who heads up a huge center of this in India, she's up there. It's at a Vedanta conference. And she's up there giving a right-wing Hindutva speech with her fist in the air, screaming slogans, nationalist slogans, Hindu slogans about, and India's the best. Hinduism is the best. We are exceptional. We will not be victimized and oppressed. We are the superpower. We have the best everything. Very chauvinistic and shouting and raising the fist and getting the audience like at a political rally. Uh, and then what she's doing is presenting Gandhi as part of that Hindutva message. What Gandhi is saying, it's the exact reversal. Here are people whose whole agenda is hierarchical, corporatized, capitalist, how to produce more billionaires, more multimillionaires, to have greater military and nuclear and globalized power. This is the opposite of Gandhi's values. And yet these people think that they can brand and use Gandhi as simply a means to their very anti-Gandhian ends. So for me, what's important is not only to deconstruct that and to try to raise consciousness about what's happening, but also to mobilize, to organize, to resist, because analysis simply for the sake of analysis that's not Gandhi. Gandhi's interested in the primacy of practice and especially transformative activist practice, showing that another way is possible, that people organizing, mobilizing, can become self-empowered, right? We can have much greater control over our own destinies. The India that I most relate to is Gandhian India. And there's so many other sources from India that are quite remarkable, that have been formative in terms of my own values. But the strongest, I would say, has been Gandhian.